What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Welcome back to the Respawn, where I answer your questions. Today we're talking Overwatch movie, guilds, anti-heal, and more. Do you need healing? Of course you do. So why not let the world know? Get an awesome shirt or hoodie, plus a whole lot of other really cool stuff, linked down below. First question of the day, what if a character had an anti-heal ability to be placed on an enemy like Zenyatta's Orbit Discord? Would it be balanced? Yes, absolutely, as long as it was percentage based. You can't just have a full 100% anti-heal, that would be way too strong. But let's say a character could debuff an enemy with a 20 or a 30% anti-heal. Sure, that would work fine. I think you could probably even push it all the way up to 50% anti-heal, because you have to keep in mind that Zenyatta's Orb of Discord is a damage amplification that helps you kill the enemy faster, whereas the anti-heal prevents them from recovering as fast. And that is an important distinction to make. And because of that, you could push the percentage numbers of the anti-heal ability up higher than you can with the damage amp abilities of Zenyatta or Orisa or Mercy with their damage amp, all that sort of stuff. So you could push it up higher. I've actually thought about this sort of ability in some of my hero concepts. And by the way, I still have like 7 or 8 hero concepts that I haven't released. The next one should be out fairly soonish. I do have some extra special stuff that's going along with it, but I've considered having certain abilities like this as well. Next up, are the extremely well appreciated workshop, do you think that Blizzard will introduce some sort of map creator? Yes. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. They've talked about it, they say that they would really like to have it, but it is a massive thing that they would have to do. I think with some of the previous games like StarCraft and Warcraft, they actually had to create entirely different clients that would allow you to create the maps, and then you could import them into the game itself. So it's not really a very small task. You know, you have to be able to move around all of the pieces and stuff. It would require a different way of controlling the camera and this and that. Like, it's just a massive undertaking in order to create a world editor, a map editor, where you can change all of the front end stuff, as opposed to the workshop, which is all the back end stuff. I would definitely like to see it, though. I would really like to start making some of the maps for Overwatch as well. Do you think that Blizzard will add people's workshop creation into the arcade, even if it's only for one time? Sure. I think once the workshop is put onto the live version of the game, there's going to be some that are really, really amazing. And I think it would make a lot of sense for Blizzard to take them and to put them into the arcade. Are we going to get a Canadian hero? I'm sure at some point. It'll probably end up being like a cybernetically enhanced moose that throws maple syrup at the enemies. But yeah, I'm sure at some point. Would you like to see an Overwatch movie? Did you ever see the World of Warcraft movie? Because it wasn't very good. Here's the problem. A lot of the animations that Blizzard does are amazing. They are easily some of the best that have ever been made. But you notice something about them. There's very, very little dialogue. Almost the entire animation is taken up by just people doing things. As soon as any of the characters open their mouth, the quality just drops off a cliff. So it doesn't really quite translate. Like, you can't just take a bunch of the animations and put them into a movie, because it would require a tremendous amount of dialogue. And I don't know, like, the World of Warcraft movie just didn't really do all that good. I think if they were to do something like that, it would have to be a fully animated one, which is, I think, what everyone would want anyways. But I wouldn't want to see it, to be perfectly blunt. I would not want an Overwatch movie. I don't think it would be good. I don't think the dialogue would be good. And it's not something that I'm interested in. I would rather have them work on more smaller animations than trying to do a movie. How do tick weapons work? Okay, so the way that tick weapons work, we're talking about Symmetra and Moira and Winston, is that they're a damage over time, and when the beam effect is on the enemy, it will go in these little intervals. It's really simple. Basically, every X number of seconds, and it changes for every character, it will do a certain amount of damage. So when Winston is attacking an enemy, over the course of 1 second, you know that he's going to do 60 damage, and that's broken up into much smaller sections. Off the top of my head, I don't know what those sections are, but that's how it works. It's just very small damage over time. How is the best way to play Baptiste in Gold? Just try to heal. Use your healing. Like, I wouldn't even bother trying to attack the enemy. Just right-click. I mean, you could almost remove your left mouse key and just only use the right mouse button, right? Like, just heal your teammates. You do a crazy amount of healing as Baptiste. And also, make sure that you're using the immortality field at the correct time. I so often see people just throw it out at the beginning of a fight. That is a complete waste in most situations. Not all, but most. So what you want to do is just wait until you're reloading, or wait until the enemy starts doing something really aggressive, or they use an ult, or maybe, you know, you see someone on your team suddenly drop down in health really quickly, then use your immortality drone, but don't just throw it out at the beginning of the fight. Do you think Tracer should get her bike as a highlight intro or an emote? I don't think they would ever add it as an emote. It would be kind of weird, like she would just, I don't know, like the bike would just appear out of nowhere. But for a highlight intro, yeah, I think she could definitely get the bike as a highlight intro. That would absolutely work. And for that matter, they could have Genji like cutting a car or something like that for his highlight intro. They could take a bunch of those scenes from the Storm Rising event and use those as highlight intros. How does the matchmaking work in quick play? There's a couple of factors. First is latency. It tries to find people that have the roughly same amount of latency so that everyone has kind of the same experience in the game. It also tries to find people that are roughly the same rank, but the priority, the number one thing, is it just tries to make the game as fast as possible. It doesn't want people to wait all that long. So because of that, it will stretch the rules on some of the other things. This is why you can have a GM in a quick play match with a gold or a silver, because it prioritizes getting the game started faster than just trying to make it all equal. Now, on the competitive side of things, it's the reverse. It tries to find matches that are going to be fair above everything else, and if you have to wait longer, then it just makes you wait longer. Do we know which heroes will get new skins for the anniversary event? We know for certain that D.Va is getting a legendary, but beyond that, no. I will be making a prediction video at some point soon, not really sure exactly when, but we can probably expect kind of the same thing, probably about 7 legendaries and 2 or 3 epics. What is the guild systems? Can't find an answer anywhere. Well, there isn't a guild in Overwatch. Blizzard has talked about this a couple of times, where they've considered adding guilds, but if they do, they don't want it to simply be an Overwatch thing. They want it to be all across Battle.net, so that if you're in a guild on Overwatch, you can still talk to people in the guild who are playing Hearthstone and all that sort of stuff. So they want it to be a lot more interconnected through all of their different games. Don't really like that all that much. I don't think there's too much need for that. I mean, yeah, it's kind of okay, but I don't really see all that big of a deal with it. I think it would just be better to have it within Overwatch itself, but they've said that if they're going to add it, it's going to be Battle.net wide. When will the workshop and the Havana map be available for console players? Havana map will probably be available sooner because that was placed on the PTR earlier, and I would expect maybe in 2 weeks or so, somewhere around that time. But the workshop probably isn't going to be available for a little while longer than that. I would say at least another month for the workshop before it ever gets pushed to live, because they're still making a ton of changes to the workshop. Not only just bug fixes, but they're adding all kinds of new things and just changing the way the workshop works. So I don't think it's going to hit the live version of the game or console for at least a month. Is it easier to climb with a group system or solo queue? If you're talking about looking for group, then yeah, I guess it can kind of work if you're willing to wait through that. But just playing as a duo or a 3-stack is going to be a lot better than solo queue. Because if for nothing else, it reduces the chances that you're going to get a thrower on your team. And if you're picking smart teammates, then you're going to be able to have a more balanced lineup. Like if you and the other person are both DPS, that's not a good idea to duo queue with. But if you play as one role and they play as another, then it's going to help to balance out the team a little bit more. I have a gaming mouse that can change the mouse speed with a button on it. I've been playing lower sensitivity. Would you recommend playing on a higher sensitivity? That is completely dependent on each individual player. There are pros that play with very high sensitivities, and there are other pros who play with very low sensitivities. It's dependent on you and what works for you. Really, what you should be able to do is move your crosshair throughout the map from one target to another without it jittering around. Or, there's a nice little test that I've done where you can go into the training room and you put your crosshair on some target, usually one of the training bots, and you can just strafe left and right, back and forth, and you need to be able to keep that crosshair in the exact same spot while you're moving. That's an old trick from CSGO for changing the settings there. But essentially, you need to find what works for you. Don't go by what other people are using, because that's just not a good idea. Where do you think the Overwatch story is headed up to? Well, if I had to guess, I would say more retcons. That's all the questions for this week. Remember, I post the question card every Saturday on the community tab of my YouTube channel. And all of the previous questions from the Respawn series can be found in my Discord server. A lot of you guys still asking old questions that I've already answered. I'm not going to answer them again in new videos. So if you want to see that, go and check out the master list of all of the old questions. Again, that's on the Discord server. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.